ask you
Yeah.
about like why are you like how come you are doing a podcast on body positivity, on women's bodies,
Yeah.
and exploring topics of such, like what got you to like doing your podcast?
Yeah.
And I think also in that mix, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
explain like your how do you pronounce it? Lunye Foundation?
Oh, Lunje Foundation.
Lunji.
Yes.
Lunji. Am I saying it correctly?
Lunje, like
Lunje.
Lunje Utando. So it's short for
Oh,
Lunje Utando.
okay. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, Lunje
Yeah.
Tan. Okay, Lunje Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, starting my podcast Comfort Zones was a little bit of a personal journey for me
Mm-hmm.
because I've gone through issues with my body from as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Primary school was very difficult, and then transitioning into high school was even worse because now your body is changing, and I felt like I couldn't really speak to anyone about it because everybody seemed like they were okay with how they looked, which in now retrospect I understand that it actually was not the case. Everybody had something that they didn't like or whatever, but we were not having conversations about it openly enough. And if you did come through and say, hey, listen, I'm battling with this or I'm feeling this way, it was a thing of like, oh, she has something mentally that's not clicking. It was not a thing that we could speak about openly. So comfort zones has been it has been an avenue to try and get the conversation going on how these things are completely normal and you can speak about them in any platform without any shame. Um, and it's really, some of the guests that I've had, so far I've had three, but it's been really interesting to see that everybody's sort of going through the same thing. We just see these people on a regular basis and we're like, oh no, they're okay, and we don't really think, what's deeper that they're going through. But also the conversations that we've had on comfort zones, I really started to understand why people are the way that they are. Somebody who's very quiet, you think, oh, it's just who they are in their nature, but maybe they've gone through something. Um, they could have been an outgoing person, and then something happened along the way, and it changed who they are now. So it's a visual diary or audio diary of trying to understand people and trying to unpack this phenomena of being a woman and being transitioning from girlhood into womanhood, but doing it as a community, not just alone.
Yeah.
And then the story behind Lunje, it was founded with me and my mom and my sisters, but because of personal reasons, they've had to kind of take a step back and just cool off. But I've sort of stepped into the front reins and taken up the reins. And it's a initiative that we've now broadened to make it trying to give girls the agency they need in order to get quality education, because you can have access to education, that's fine, but the quality of it is what really matters and it's what will get you to where you want to go. So, even conversations like this is a sort of learning curve. It's a sort of education tool. So hence why I was like, that's also one of the reasons why I started Comfort Zones as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's so beautiful. I like that. Because no, it's true. I think to navigate something with other people makes the navigation easier.
Exactly.
Versus like having to try and do it like yourself. Especially if we're talking about something that we end up realizing that we're all essentially like going through it as well. So yeah. Also I wanted to go to like the point where you were talking about how like struggled with that, like from when you were like young. So I know like one of the things that I tried to think about for myself was like, was there ever a time when I did not like consider having to, like, how like my body appeared, how it looked, and what that meant, like was there ever a point in my life where I was just solely like within myself? And I'm pretty sure that there was, but I just don't remember that. So I wanted to like ask you, have you, do you remember like a time before where you were not like
That's
conscious about yourself and your body and how it appears?
sure. That's a really good question actually because you actually like take me back. It was 2 days ago I think. I
Mm-hmm.
was on my laptop and there's a video of my preschool graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And last year on my birthday I was like looking for the DVD and I was like, I haven't seen the DVD in like forever.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2010. So then I plugged it in. I had to find a laptop that had DVD,
Yeah,
configuration. So I plugged it in and then I put it in a USB and then I watched it on my own. You have no idea how much I started crying, like
Oh
it was
no.
insane. Like
Oh
I
no,
was
yeah.
crying. Even like when I think about it now, it makes me like a little bit emotional
Mm-hmm.
because I'm looking at this girl on the screen and I'm like, where is she? Like who is this? Was dancing and my arms are swinging. Like had no like problem like who's watching me, who's saying what, like who's thinking what. Right now, like I can't even tell you that I have that freedom that I had then, because I was just like, this girl is so carefree. There was one part in the dance where I was the fairy, and it's like the fairy waves her wand, and I'm walking around, and I'm like, I own this space, I'm the fairy. So I think it was at that point where I really like any idea of I need to look like so and so. There was none of that. Like I was like, I am who I am and I'm perfect. And funny enough, I've actually had when I was little, I think from when I was 5 or 6, I had ringworms for a really long time. So what that meant was that I had to constantly shave my head, so I could never grow my hair out. Yeah, beautiful hair like every other girl. And when you play dress up, they're like Rapunzel, Rapunzel, or like the girl with the longest hair gets the boys and whatever. You even become sometimes we play role play mom and dad, and I'd be the dad just because I had short hair. You know what I mean? But it was never a problem until primary school when now I don't know what happened. I think it was grade 4, grade 5. Then all of a sudden I became hyper conscious of like, oh my gosh, my hair, oh my gosh, my hair. But I've had it like this for years. You know what I mean? So I think that was that seeing that video was the first time that I realized I've not always been like this. And it's possible to get back to that stage. There's a lot of unlearning that I need to do in order to get there. So yeah, that was one of the moments. Yeah.
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 That's so, I relate to that a lot, honestly,
Wow.
because I've also, there was a time, we don't have like the laptop anymore that like has the,
Those are the
DVD.
best ones.
Yeah, no, they're great because you can just like watch like the DVDs that your parents have collected since you don't know like when. So then, yeah, my mother also used to like buy the DVDs that our that my preschool would like sell of like the shows that we had at like the end of the year. And there was one that I saw. We were laughing like most of the time when we were looking at it because like yeah, it was very much like the same. I was like dancing, shaking my hips on stage. Like I think I wasn't. I was like one of the most energetic ones. Like definitely knew what I was doing. And it was just like it was yeah. I think at the time I was like 4 or 5 years old. I have no recollection of that experience.
Really?
Or like I
my
don't
goodness.
remember being there, but I could see myself and I was like very much yeah, it was very interesting. And I think like that's the proof. That's the proof that, like you're not always having those like insecurities, like these ideas that we start to like, uphold so much like about our bodies or in relation to our bodies are like learned a lot of the time. Um, and yeah, but then yeah, I'd like to believe that there is a way to go back to that. Um,
But I think also the fact that like for me, I can't even like my mind is failing me, but I can't even tell you what the trigger was that made me
Mm,
transition from like confident, you go girl, you got this, to like, oh my gosh, I need to go in a corner and like the whole world must have that space. Like I was like, what happened? Like where did it shift? And I don't know if a lot of people have that as well, where they're like, what was that switch? Where do I find that switch? So yeah, that's the strangest part of the whole thing. Like what triggered it? So that next time because right now for me, I'm on that journey of getting back to that little girl, but I need to identify the switch so that it doesn't happen again. So yeah, that's the hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I think, yeah, even I think in like my first or second episode, I was trying to figure that out. I was like, I think it could be like the media that I was consuming, or I think in my family, I know that I think with concerns to like health, but also just with, really trying to live up to certain beauty standards, like the women in my family are really like held up to that or value that, and so or at least it's what I would hear a lot from home. And so I think it's those sorts of, things that I would take in once I could comprehend that like made me like I found a way somehow as a kid or as I was growing up to internalize that so deeply in a way.
See what you
Um,
mean.
yeah.
I feel like kids, I mean, I'm a Saturday school teacher because I go to church on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach kids. I
Yeah.
teach the littles from 7.
That's so cute.
Oh
So
my
cute.
gosh.
Yeah.
I love kids, but like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, they need a certain amount of patience.
Okay,
So
yeah, yeah.
I teach the littles, the 7 to 12-year-olds, and they are just like parrots. These, I don't mean it in an offensive way, but they really are. You would have no idea how much children internalize things. If I put my phone here, I just put it there because that was the most convenient space. But they will examine like, oh, she put it at this angle and it looked like this. And next time when they have their phone, they'll put it in the exact same spot in the exact same way you put it. I was like, oh my goodness, children, like those years are so important. And I was like, maybe it's what I saw, like what you're saying. Probably it was those conversations that you don't really, in your parents' minds, they were not meaning anything by it by speaking that way, but then you did sort of internalize it that way. Sure, wow. I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, you just like absorb it. Like I guess like
Yeah.
at the time you like because you like quite young, you don't really realize what is happening and you don't realize how much of a sponge you are
Exactly.
at that time. And the people around you also
Yeah.
may not take that, too seriously
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Sure.
But I think that is very interesting. Something so I want to sort of like get into if you were to like think like right now, like what are some of the things that you were sort of told about like bodies and how you're supposed to see yourself? Like if you were to think of like and try articulate in words, like what are some of those like things or like ideas about bodies that you started to like internalize or that you are trying to unlearn even now?
It doesn't have to be from family. It can be like
It can be from
whatever.
anywhere, yeah.
Sure. Something about body. Um, Surprisingly enough, I was always raised in a family that taught me that female bodies or feminine bodies are very sacred in whatever shape or form. So, you should respect yourself. Your body is a temple, basically. So they used to teach me like, what does a temple look like? Because we would use church, for example.
Yes.
Keep the church clean, keep the church holy, keep the church in a livable space. You're happy to walk into church. It's bright and lots of music and it's fun. So they were like, you have to treat your body in that way, which is now surprising because I was like, if that's what my family was sort of driving home, then where did the switch happen? But then I'm also remembering now, my mom, shame, she used to love collecting True Love magazine and
I think
Shape.
I remember.
Do you remember True Love?
Okay, I don't remember. True Love sounds very,
It
very.
does. It's
Yeah.
like one of those famous, it was in the category of like You and Bona magazine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bona, I remember.
So it was, and she also used to do a lot of like Shape magazine. So the front cover of those magazine are naked women in bikinis, slim body, small waist,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And at some point, my mom was on a journey of losing weight. So being a child, you do whatever your mom does. So she had Tybo. I don't know if you did Tybo. It was a DVD of like this guy who used to do exercises, and there were people behind him. It was sort of like
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
My mom had a couple of those.
Really?
Yeah, she did.
I would
Yeah.
always join in, and I would do Tybo with her. So yeah, the narrative at home was like take care of your body and make sure that you are like taking care of your body and keeping a good weight. But I think yeah, other images of women bodies. I'm trying to think of a place where it wasn't as positive as I think. Um, this is going to be a very controversial one, but I feel like it has to be said. Church was one of the places, ironically, where a lot of negativity about the female body was pushed. Because I always used to ask my mom, why must I wear, long skirts? And then John or whatever, Tabo, he can wear, a casual top, but I must wear all formal. And even in summer, you must wear formal and tight shoes and socks and everything. She's like, no, because a woman must be modest. And I'm like, does modesty only pertain to women only? It's not a universal term. So that's one of the places where I started to see that perception of bodies negatively. I'll just elaborate on that as well, but it was more recent than childhood. I used to serve on a ministry at church called it's like superintendent. So basically, what you do is that you conduct or you MC the programs of the day. So you'd be like, now the preacher's gonna stand up.
Yeah, okay,
So what that meant was that I was in front of the congregation for long periods of time. But also what that meant was that you needed to be very presentable and you needed to be very eloquent and you needed to be very sensitive and so I'm thinking I'm just doing ministry, because that's a ministry in itself. Until I started getting, and mind you, I was 16 at the time. I was getting marriage proposals from 47, 55-year-old men. And I was like, what is going on? And I'm dressed very covered up. It's not like there's anything about me that screams, you know. So I was like, okay, so I'm doing something, but I'm being objectified. So there was that element of objectification of the woman's body that I started to pick up. And it's very sad that like most of my not so happy memories are from a place that is actually supposed to be the 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 catalyst for change. So I know it's going to be very controversial. Like people might comment and be like, no, but like it's the truth. And a lot of women, we go through that, especially in, well, it's the only sphere I can talk about because I am Christian, but within churches, it is something that is very, very, very prevalent. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a sad reality. And I teach my littles, especially the girls, I teach them if you want to wear something, wear it. Like these days, I rock up to church in jeans, and they'll be like, "Ma'am, why are you wearing jeans?" And I'm like, "It's cold. The concept of clothing is so that you feel comfortable.
Comfortable. Yeah.
It's not always about, oh, I'm gonna appear this way. If I wake up and it's a cold morning and I feel like I need something that's gonna cover everything, then pants are the most convenient option. So you can wear pants. You don't have to wear a skirt. So yeah, I guess I'm also trying to change the system within the system, which is hard. because you're not that parent's child. So, but you're also picking up on this is not right. We need to change that. So,
yeah, that small little, I think, like impact
yeah,
can go such a long way,
exactly.
honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's very interesting, like what you bring up, because like you're told to do one thing, but it is still an issue, and it
Exactly.
is still
Yeah.
like wrong in a way. But also it makes me think about how like the presence of ourselves, I think is is something that I remember in I talked about like in the episode like with like Sophia,
Yeah.
and we were talking about like how like we went about like talking about it in like a different like sort of way, but then it's making me think about like how you can feel so disconnected to how the presence of your body is being perceived by other people,
Exactly.
or even
Yeah.
just feel disconnected to like your body as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, like there was I think there was something very interesting about how like you were present at church,
Yeah.
and you were, you know, pretty much like just living within like your purpose, and
Exactly.
from what I understand, like your passion as well.
Yeah.
And so, but then you being taken for something else,
Exactly.
and that's very weird. And like ideally you would, you know, want to be perceived or taken as like how you want,
Exactly.
you
You
know.
wish that, you know, I, I don't know, like you really wish that everybody would sort of see you the way you are supposed to be seen. Because to objectify somebody when there is no need, I think it's just unnecessary. If the pastor is standing and he's preaching, my mind is supposed to be on the sermon, not on the pastor's suit and how his tie looks today or what he had for breakfast this morning or where his wife and kids are. That's not any of my business. And then we miss out on the most important stuff and you leave church and you're like, whoa, I got nothing from the sermon. Um, so yeah, it is that it's hard because you can't tell people what or how to think, especially when it comes to you. You just have to rock up and be you. And then how they deal with how they take it is entirely dependent on how you deal with it. Because what I did after I found out about that is that I had to leave the ministry just for my own spiritual health. I was like, I can't keep on getting this kind of treatment. So I left the ministry, but I was still within the church. But I made sure that I was working from behind the scenes. And then I kept my distance from those men for a very long time. But I just had to tell myself that what they were saying or how they were viewing me had nothing to do with me because number one, I was dressed in a very presentable way and I was not saying anything that would evoke um, lust or some sort of provocation. So I was like, it's entirely on them. And I think sometimes it is okay to say how you saw me is entirely on you. I have nothing to do with it. Because yeah, we, especially as women, we tend to think, oh my goodness, maybe I was this, or maybe I didn't look pretty enough. That's why he didn't take me back, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it is. You have to protect yourself from things like those.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so when, because I kind of want to get into, because I like how like we're talking about like being perceived and like, you know, taking away like valuing like how other people like see us, especially when you are just being objectified and you just being seen for how you like look and not being, you know, recognized for your personhood and your, you know, humanness essentially. Um, have you, because one of the things that I was trying to like understand is like, then what is like the purpose of um our bodies or like beauty? Um, have you ever thought of like how, your body signifies something for yourself, for your life? Like, I don't know, because I remember when I was just to like explain like where
Yes.
this is like coming
Yeah,
from.
no, it's okay.
So I remember when I was trying to, because I initially, so this all came from me just wanting to like draw out like my body and whatnot. And I felt like once I had drawn this out, I was like, this is so interesting. I feel like something is being said here.
Sure.
And then, but then like hence like now I'm speaking about it, but then like I was trying to understand like that there's something about like the presence of ourselves
Yeah.
that has or carries meaning and purpose.
Sure.
That I feel like when we are going through things that we go through, like as women, we're being objectified and being reduced down to, having to fit into standards of, how we're supposed to look,
Yeah.
how we are supposed to be shaped, that it could take away from us finding that for ourselves.
Exactly.
Which could be, which I personally think is more important,
It is. It
you
is.
know?
Like that is such a loaded question because it's like you could approach it from so many different angles. But I think what's sad about a lot of women, especially like for me, for example, is that I always see my body as in service to something else or someone else instead of in service to me. Because I'm like, this is my body, it's the only one I will ever have. So why am I so selfish when it comes to serving me? And it is true. Like I've found a new I don't know, like a new sensuality to my body. It's like I don't know if it's growing into your woman features or whatever the case may be, but it's like I'm so excited about what it does or like who it is, finding that out for myself. And exploring that in different ways, exploring my talents and like, oh my goodness, my hand can take my mind can take something conceptually and transport that into something physically drawn. But I don't know, like I'm trying to get to the crux of like your question because it's so loaded and it's so meaningful. But I don't know if there's a way that we can be more intentional about how we use our bodies for ourselves. Because when I first listened to your first podcast about like drawing your body, it really touched me because I was like, I'm very big into drawing, and one of the things I explore a lot is Black women. Like they are the subject of my art everywhere. But I'm like, I've never taken time to draw myself in the level of detail and intentionality that I draw other Black women. And I feel like if I if I continue that way, it would be great because I love representing Black women. But I'm like I can't keep using them as a cop out for representing myself because I am also art in myself, and it's important that I see myself as art, represented, just like how other Black women will now see themselves as art represented. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question though.
It does.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it makes such a beautiful, I actually can't wait for you to listen to like the one that I recorded with Sophia because
Yeah.
it's making such a beautiful like link to
Oh,
that
really?
in a way. Yeah, because we got to really talking about like how your presence can be so meaningful. And
Yeah.
like that's the thing about having to like live up to certain beauty standards today is that it can take away from that.
Exactly.
And we talked about like being like women of color and like how important it is to have people that look like you in certain spaces.
Exactly.
And how powerful that is.
Sure.
And so I really love like where you took it because I was
Thank you.
even like I was even about to ask you about about that because it just came up to like my mind. It's like a lot of your conceptual work that I
Yeah.
see, is like you start off with I think really depicting like black women
Yes.
as these images and also a huge like base of like what I think you really like are passionate about. Do you mind like speaking like more about that? Because I feel like it's something that I've seen from, did you start like in first year or second year?
I actually started in second year.
Second year, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's where this whole journey started. But in my, I think I'll actually send you photos, but you do have it, I think. In my last project of second year, it was a project in Freedom Park, and I was really influenced by this idea of unomkhubulwane and how in the African spiritualistic view, she's viewed as one of the most important aspects of creation. And how women, like, no matter what society does or says or try to paint us, we will always be at the core of creation. And so I ran with that idea. I'm not really deep into African spiritualization or spiritualism, but I do understand how important it is to how I see myself now. So I take both my Christian views and my Africanacity and I merged the two. So I represented her in this very, you know, powerful stance. And it had a lot of reaction from the class because a lot of people were like, why this figure? Why depict her in this way? Why does she look so provocative? And why is she? And I'm like, it's not that she
Was this from lecturers?
It was.
Really?
And students alike, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually told by one lecturer, they were like, if you could just make this figure a little bit smaller and in the corner so that we don't see her as much. And I took it and I was like, thanks for your input, but no, it is what it is. And it will read as something very important. It will have the same hierarchy as my plans and my sections because it is that important. So I kept it in that same scale. And then beginning of this year, actually the examiner last year, it was the first thing he commented on. He was like, I love this sketch. Before he even looked at my plans, he was like, please explain the sketch and what it means. So I explained it, and then he loved it, and it even gave him a deeper insight into what the project was about.
Yeah.
So then this year, our project, the manifesto, I was very hesitant because I was like, what they asked for was 60 sketches and that's it. But now I want to bring this figure of a woman's face into it and make it all like, controversial. So I spoke to one of my lecturers and she's like, yeah, but I don't really feel like there's a need. Like, just do the sketches and hand it in. But I've always been like, we should never be mediocre in our greatness. Like, if you think of a great idea, put it down. But this idea of like just answer the brief and answer the brief as it is, like always in any brief, it doesn't have to be an architectural brief. Always go deeper and look for the deeper meaning. So I represented it. That was my first project, and then I had another project where I was now representing a mixture of black women and black men. It was the Faces in the Sands of Time, the project 4. And I had a very weird comment from a student who was like, why are you always depicting black women? And I was like, why shouldn't I? It's who I am. And she's like, no, but like, this is architecture. It's not about black women and you're making it the subject of your project. And I was like, that is exactly why, because I'm trying to address the same mindset that you have, that other people have, but not so vocally. And I feel like well, you can answer, but like, I don't know if I've been successful in changing the landscape of how we look at architecture now, because first year I really struggled. I was like, what is going on here? And then as soon as I started introducing the aspect of like people are at the center of our designs and not just in a conceptual way where I'll just say it in my concept. People actually need to see the people in our design. Um, and that's how the the development of representing Black women began. Even in my history project now, it also has to do with Black women and our systematic oppression in relation to labor markets and commercialization and everything, exploitation, how we are somehow at the bottom of the pyramid, but we are somehow the ones that keep it all together, you know. So yeah, that was my exploration. My mom was very happy to see that the manifesto. She was like, wow. She was actually like, it reminds me of Dosa Keshande, who was the author of For Colored Girls. Yes. And I love the film, I love the book. So I was like, it's an honor to then represent a multitude of Black women across disciplines within my work. Yeah.
No, I think that's exactly the kind of what you're trying to do is exactly what is needed.
Exactly.
And it is the answer to I think what people are bringing up as like these like questions and asking like it's what you're doing. It's literally because the way that I have interpreted that is that like, you know, you need to have these like it's like what you were saying, like you need to see the faces of these people. Exactly. Within that space, you know. And I think there's no I think what I like about how you go about it is that it is just so true to what you're trying to like do and what is actually like needed, you know. Because to say that I don't know why it is controversial to even just like say that Black women are need to be seen. Exactly. In any space, like even outside of what we do, architecture or like Black women just need to be seen and acknowledged in certain spaces. And when people don't understand, why that is, I'm just like, hey,
I don't even know what.
Yeah, I never know what to say, but like I even just think to myself that we have a long way to go as a society because
it's so sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
It is sad because it makes me think about like 50, 70 like years ago and thinking about the young Black girl at that time who grew up at that time could only see themselves in certain spaces. If they saw how things, are today and where Black women are and the different spaces that they like, it might not even be what they have even like imagined.
Exactly.
And I think this is why such things like need to be like emphasized and whatnot. And and it's nothing. I really do hope that no matter what like commentary like you get, that you do not then tire of like of representing that because
it's very true. Like I on my Instagram the other day I said we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, and it would be very foolish of us to squander what they worked so hard to get. I always tell my sister, I'm like, I don't think our generation is serious enough because in our parents' and grandparents' generation, they were the generation of fighters. Like something was wrong with the system and they fought for it to be correct. Now we're living in corruption and we're all comfortable and we're like, well, it is what it is. And it's like we're living in the age where, women are more open and we have more freedom. But there's certain things where I'm like, no, guys, this cannot a normality. Like the amount of gender-based violence. It's just like, we post about it and then it's normal. But just carry a taser and just be safe. I'm like, we need to actually stand up and do something physically about it. So I think that's also why I push so hard against all the critique and against all the backlash, but I push so hard for people who look like me to be represented. But I mean, when you're in spaces where the people who hold the key to your success don't necessarily have the same skin color as you, you are very timid, because I've had lecturers who are like, can you just drop the whole like, black people thing? Like just make
Mm,
it just produce a plan and produce a plan. Like we don't need to see
mm,
faces, we don't need to see graphics, just and I'm like, no,
mm,
I might fail, fine, but like
mm.
the it's about my integrity and my seriousness about the movement that I'm trying to cultivate. Like, yeah, we have a long, a very long way to go. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Um, but it's all necessary,
It is.
and it is all like needed. Like I remember, I think on your podcast, I remember I was talking about how like I got into really being passionate about certain things because I was watching a lot of documentaries, especially like BLM. I think before 2020, I was like watching documentaries on like what was happening there, and I remember um there's this documentary I watched. I always forget like the name of it, but then it was playing on BET, and I remember them showing, I think there was a church, like, because a lot of the times when they hold like meetings, they hold them like at, the community churches or like local churches. And there was a group of, I think, women in that church that were known for always, I think, putting together like protests, but also just like community service, I think, programs and whatnot. And, I thought, they were just incredible, people because of like the amount of work that they put into that. And I think it was the producer or like the person that was, like recording, and like during like the part where they show like the interviews of them, like like talking in documentaries. And they asked like the woman who was the head of that, and they were asking her like, when are you gonna stop? Like not like when are you gonna stop, but like do you ever think of like stopping because the like police are still, going about like, you know, just killing people and whatnot. Like, do you not get tired of having to still carry on and believing in this? Like how do you still have hope? And she mentioned something I think that you were trying to, like really I think point out that is very significant, is that like she is where she is right now and capable of doing what she's doing because of the many like little like efforts that were made, little and big efforts honestly, that were made like before her. And so we cannot manifest like a better place for ourselves without actually like cementing ourselves into spaces like now, and actually fighting for things and being activists for the things that we like um believe in too. Yeah.
100%. I mean, I would love to know the documentary because it sounds like something like I would watch.
Mm-hmm. I'll try to look for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was a documentary that was produced by BT.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure, but I'll look for it and then I'll send it to you. It might be on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I love resources like PBS because they
Mm-hmm.
really, I think they're very contextually relevant. Unfortunately, it's more about American Black history, but that is still important.
Yeah.
But I think also now more than ever, now that this man has been elected into the White House, and so many of our resources, especially for Black people, are on the line. I think now more than ever is when we actually need to stand up and take a stand because it's just getting out of hand. I love Audrey. I think her name's Audrey Lorde.
Audre Lorde,
Audrey
yes.
Lorde.
I've been meaning to actually like I remember when like one of my friends has been
Yeah.
telling me to like read a book
Oh
of
my
hers or
God.
something.
Audrey Lorde.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
they sound
goodness.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
her and Toni Morrison are like my
Mm-hmm.
mentors. Like
Yes.
I just relish it's just unfortunate that Toni Morrison passed away, but if I could really like see one person physically in the flesh and like hug her, it would be Toni Morrison and Audrey Lorde. But she has a book called Your Silence Will Not Save You. And it's just so like that is the truth. Like your silence will not save you at all. People hide behind um, silence, and in a way, you don't realize how complicit you actually are in the system if you stay silent. Um, yeah.
Then I guess just as a final like question.
I was not looking forward to those words because the conversation was like,
Getting like
oh
so
yeah,
good. Um, we might even like carry on
yeah,
one,
part
and
two.
like have like a part two, honestly, because
Yes,
I feel like this conversation is just I'm realizing how rich it is
it is.
actually,
Yeah, it is.
especially with like the different aspects
Yes,
of what we're talking about.
yes.
Um, I wanted to ask you just talking about like now activism and like the intentions behind like the activism
Mhm,
that we are into and that we see and that
mhm,
we are and that you're doing,
mhm,
especially like in your work. What do you hope for when you imagine
mhm.
like because we were talking about like how we are manifestations, how we
Yeah.
are our ancestors' wildest
Mhm,
dreams. What is that for you? What do you hope for with what you have been exploring in your architectural work,
mhm,
in Lunje Foundation? Like,
mhm.
what do you hope for as you are doing this?
I think for me, the biggest, and it's actually like the saddest part, is that for Black women specifically, but women on a global scale, no matter your race or your ethnicity, I'm just hoping that we'll one day get to a point where like we're human enough and there's
Mm,
nothing that will ever have to change. Like there will we won't have to have conversations about things that we're not even supposed to be conscious about. Like,
mm,
I really wish we can get to a point where um, our humanity as women is enough and we don't have to live up to a certain standard, especially standards that are set out by men generations past.
mm,
But for Black women, I'm really hoping for the same thing, but even on a more deeper level, like a mindset level.
mm,
Like I'm hoping that Black women will get to a point where um, we don't have to suck up to standards that have nothing to do with us. Like we can be entirely self-dependent. I always think about Africa, and I was like, there was really no need for Africa to have any involvement with European systems.
mm,
And I congratulate leaders like Ibrahim Traore who
mm,
are starting that conversation.
mm,
So if we can get that in a micro scale of each individual goes into their mind and really sits down with yourself and you go to those thoughts that you literally lock up in a cupboard and you go and you sit with those thoughts and you say, what about this can I change? I think that is when we'll start to see major macro scale movements. They always say that um, if you it's a bit of a controversial statement, but I feel like it's true. If you change a man, it changes him individually. But if a woman changes herself, it changes a nation
mm.
because we just have this instinct to nurture and to be influences wherever we are. So yeah, that is where I'm hoping to go. Um,
Mm,
and then I'm also now broadening my activism to include people with disabilities, but
mm,
more specifically, but not even just specifically, but like Black people with disabilities, because
mm,
on the pyramid of hierarchy, we have the white men, the white women and children, the Black men, Black boys and dogs,
mm,
then there's Black women, and
mm,
then at the very bottom of the tier is people with disabilities.
mm,
So I really hope to start up some activism. I'm writing a book at the moment called Alternative Humans,
mm,
and it speaks about how um, humans who are really, we need to find a new lexicon, but
mm,
for lack of a better term, people without disabilities see it as an option or as an alternative to learn, for example, sign language. I'm like, I'll learn it whenever. just or like learn how to actually communicate with people who have different abilities than yours, people with autism, ADHD, CPD. Like, how do you? We just see it as they're just alternative humans. We'll deal with them when we want to. So it's just getting your mindset right, fixing that wiring in your mind.
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah. That is so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I actually I can't wait. I can't wait to read that.
Oh my goodness. And it's going to be available for adults and children, but it will be obviously tweaked differently for
Okay, yeah.
children. Yeah. Because I
Okay.
feel like it's a conversation that we both need to have as children and as adults. So yeah.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Oh, it was so amazing having this conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can have a part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can see a need for one, like as we're like speaking.
There's so much like underneath the surface that we still need to get
Exactly.
into. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh my God.